has a bag that goes around ornaments, lights, everything. It's on wheels. So like every year he just walks out, zips up the bag around it,
That's the
and
way to do
wheels it
it.
out. And I'm like,
I'm gonna be
bro,
honest with you. That's the way to do it
yeah,
because you start trying to pull all the decorations off and all
right,
the hooks and
right.
everything else. It's like I don't want to do
And
all
the
this.
spin and the tree spins too. So
Right.
it's like the coolest thing ever. I'm like, bro, you
But
cheating in the right
so
way.
they love Christmas, and I'm not throwing any shade to them. They're childish. Take that
Yeah,
one.
rookies.
But yeah, so they've got more than one Christmas tree, which for me is unheard of. Like, why do you have? I can see maybe one big Christmas tree and then like a little tiny one on the other side of the house, but I'm talking about like a handful of Christmas trees
No.
in their house, and they love it. And so you got people like that on one end of the spectrum who they
Right.
love the honestly the holidays, but you got the other group that we gloss over a lot, and I think the history of our podcast. I'm kind of throwing a spitball here because we didn't really talk about this too much or at all. But the history of our podcast, we tend to look at things from a different vantage point than a lot of people do.
Right.
The holidays also for a lot of people represent a lot of heartache, a lot of
Right.
and
Right.
a lot of sorrow and things like that. So, how do you navigate that where hey, you're trying to be excited, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who their table's not going to have the same loved ones there this year.
Right.
Or hey, there was a big rip in the family, and so they're just like, hey, I'm not going to go spend time with them. There's heartache on that side of it. So how do you think um, if we could offer some type of help, that not help, but maybe advice that way? How do you navigate that?
Right. So, well, I mean, like last year, my grandpa died on
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving Day. He had a heart attack right before they ate Thanksgiving. So, you know, as the it's kind of like a double loss
Right.
is the way I look at it, because not only did he pass away on Thanksgiving, he was the last patriarch of the traditions that my family would go to his home for Thanksgiving, and I can promise you they will not be going there this year.
Right.
But that's family strife and everything else that was going through it. And so my thing, majority of my life in the military, it was, I know a lot of these guys can't get leave, they can't go
Mm-hmm.
home. So my ex-wife, we would cook 2 turkeys and we'd invite, as many people over as we could, just because it was like, you gotta, don't be alone during
Right.
the
Right.
holidays, because that's the worst thing you
I,
could
th- I think
ever do.
emotions are amplified during the holidays.
110%. And
Yeah.
we talk about this every year. Every year, you and I, around Thanksgiving and Christmas, we talk about the people that take the final checkout,
Mm-hmm.
and we talk about how the stressors of the finances, and your kid, really really wanting this one thing,
Right.
and you just not being able to come through, whether it's the finances, or the store ran out, or whatever it is. And so I think that the biggest thing that you can do in these times, when it's right around the corner, and you're not going to be able to make whatever you can, I've always reverted back to when I was a little boy and my dad was in the military, and then when I got in the military, and even now, it's with divorces and custody and stuff like that. Holidays are when I make the holidays,
Right.
because I'm the grown up. My kids know. They're old enough. Even the 6-year-old, she's smart enough to figure out when Thanksgiving is.
Right.
But we're working this Thanksgiving, so we're gonna have our Thanksgiving the next day.
Right.
We're gonna cook our turkey. We're gonna do it. So I think that if we all step back for a second from that boiling pot of our life and our emotions and our as especially as men, and we go, this is our pot of failure. This is where we put every mistake and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and a lot of our significant others don't realize we do that. That we categorize this special box that has every mistake, every woulda, coulda, shoulda, and all of that. We have that box somewhere in our brain. Don't always bring it up.
Right.
You don't really think about it until it's put into perspective. But if us guys could step aside, step into that vulnerable role to your significant other, or family or whatever, and go, look, I've got stuff going on. I can't afford it right now. I can't, I got to work right now, or whatever, and I can't do this holiday. And we step into why don't we do it Saturday? Let's
Right.
do our thing on this day, and you can come up with a million reasons why without actually having to acknowledge the real reason, which is emotionally or mentally or physically, you're not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
if I think if we address it that way and say, look, I, I don't have the money for it now, but I get paid in 3 days. Let's do it in 3 days. Let's do it
Right.
when I get paid. It'll be after that holiday. Everything's on sale. We can. You go shopping the day after Thanksgiving. You're not all there because that's Black Friday and that's when everybody wants to go do it. But if you think about it, 2 days after Thanksgiving, turkeys are like half off. That's when I buy two turkeys
Mm-hmm.
because I eat turkey, 3 times throughout the year because I love turkey. Um, and so I think that if you just reschedule things and just tell your kids the truth in a way that they'll understand, like, hey, look, we're gonna celebrate on this time
Right.
because daddy's gotta, work or daddy's gotta do some shifting around or, in my case, I'm divorced and my kids will be with their grandmother and their mother for Thanksgiving. And so my goal or my intent is to be like, hey, look, daddy's gotta work, so we're just gonna shift our Thanksgiving a day over because who says we can't?
Right.
There's no
Well,
rule
I
to it.
think that's where it gets back to the basic, hey, having a conversation and
Yeah, yeah.
people, and not saying you got to go super in depth with what you got going on and everything, but just a conversation saying, hey, look, I can't do it this week. Can we move it to there? And you can give a small reason why or whatever. Obviously, don't go pull a kill your grandma type excuse.
Right, right, right.
You know, but it's one of the things we're having a conversation because the goal is to have like if I invite you over to my house
Right, I want to talk to
for
you.
that holiday, I want you to be able to be there and enjoy
Right.
yourself. I don't want to put you in a bad spot. But also at the same time, when you talk about a massive feast like this, it's customary to bring something. So I
Right.
understand that I don't have to tell you, hey, I need you to bring this. You're going to typically offer to bring something.
Right.
Um, but if you can't afford it, then I don't want to put that burden on you.
Right.
So it might be, hey, look, we're going to do it this day. Just show up,
Right.
and because one, I had a friend. His name was, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it now, but he was from Turkey. His name was Gökhan Gorman, and
Did you mispronounce that?
no, I said it pretty right. He'll probably say, no, it's Gökhan Gorman. I'll be like Gökhan Gorman, and he'll be like, no, Gökhan Gorman. He'll probably say something like that where I don't pick up that I'm saying it wrong
Right.
somehow.
You didn't roll the
Some
R.
em-
You added a G.
emphasis on a wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable somewhere. But
Syllable?
yeah, so wrong emphasis, yeah. Um, so it's we invited him over to my house, and because obviously he's from Turkey, all of his family was over
You
there.
just assumed he
He
liked
knew
turkey.
no. um, we brought him over to the house, and he had a great time. He wasn't, you don't have to bring anything.
Right.
Just show up, have a good time, and my parents hadn't met him yet. We were doing it all at my parents' house, and they hadn't met him. They had no clue, and he just showed up, had a great time. Everybody had a great time with him, and I think that's how it needs to be. Where hey, look, if you're trying to include somebody in it,
Don't put a burden on him.
don't put a burden on them. And because that's what happens a lot of times is you get the burdens. That's one of the biggest fights that me and my wife had was the burdens of the holidays. Because we got married while we were going through college, so obviously there's no money there. And honestly, we made a couple financial mistakes, so we're living beyond our means. So every time Christmas would come around, we were buying for nieces and nephews and some different people here, different people there, whatever. And so when it comes, hey, what do you want? Oh, I don't want anything. Let's just not give each other gifts this year, right?
Right.
And
Tell me
and so
you
hold
fell
on,
for that.
it's so much worse. This is where I'm gonna get hate mail, all right, and send it. But for years it was like we would say that, and we still right beforehand go do something small, right? So I didn't fall into the trap, right?
Oh, I was waiting for you to be
Um,
like, I fell for it. I didn't buy her
but
anything.
the year that same year that we had the dog shit story,
Right,
took
right.
place, where I didn't have a job, didn't have money, like we were taking and living in a camper, trying to sell a house, and all this other stuff, and it come across, hey, what do you want to do? What do we want to get each other for Christmas? Well, we're living in a camper, space was limited. We had some funds coming in, but we were still recovering from the time where I didn't have a job,
Right.
and so I was like, look, we're not going to get anything. And so, I told her, I said, look, if you say we're not getting each other for Christmas, don't you come to me 3 days before Christmas saying you done bought me something. I said, because I'm not buying you nothing. I said, if we're not giving each other gifts, I'm not buying you anything. I'm not writing you a card. I'm not doing anything. Like,
Not even a
you're
card,
not
Mike.
getting anything. So
Not even a card?
Christmas comes around.
Back then it was like $3.
Christmas comes around, and she ain't had nothing. You know, and she was when I say mad, I'm talking about she was mad. All right.
Because you ain't even buy a card.
My dad, he's like, "Hey, what'd you get Brittany for Christmas this year?" I said, "I didn't get her anything." He goes, "What do you mean you didn't get her anything?" And I'm like, "Exactly what like I did not get her anything." And so he's like, "Are you stupid?"
That's
like,
the appropriate response.
Right.
That's the appropriate
Right.
response.
It gets so much worse than that. So so we take and we get through that. You know, she's mad, understandably so. I felt bad opening my gift, but to be fair, she didn't tell me she bought me nothing. It was a surprise. Here's you a gift.
What'd
Okay,
you
well,
get?
I'm going off. I don't remember. I'm going off of we had the agreement. We're not getting each other anything. So that's if we have an agreement, I'm going to stick by that agreement, right? So her birthday is shortly after Christmas,
Right, right, right.
and so I asked her, "Hey, what do you want for your birthday?" "I don't want anything." So I gave the exact same speech. "Hey, just so you know, if you tell me you don't want anything, I'm not going to buy you." Because again, we're living in a
Right.
camper. Like we don't have space for anything and all this other stuff. We don't have money in the budget for a lot of stuff. And she goes, "No, I don't want anything. Don't worry about it." She understood the parameters. Like I broke it down Barney style. I'm not doing this, none of this. And she goes, "That's fine. I don't want anything." Okay. And this is where I think she probably learned that the whole not saying what you mean, saying what you want to be
Right,
construed
right.
and come around the mountain and let me figure it out. It ain't gonna work because I'm too dumb. Um, so her birthday, I didn't get her anything. So
You had a rough year, Mike.
look, we took
You ended and
and
started two
my
different
dad
years
asked me.
horribly.
He said, "Hey, what'd you get Brittany for her birthday?" I said, "I didn't get her anything." He goes, "I know you did not do that again." I said, "No." I said, "No." She told me she didn't want anything. Like I broke it down, and I'm not pleading my case, but I'm like, I don't know why she's so mad. Like I
Right.
told her this is what's going to happen if she says this, and I was like, so she knew, didn't get her anything. Well, a couple weeks after that is Valentine's Day, right? And never we have never really been big into Valentine's Day. Like we don't subscribe to that. And she told me, she said, if you do not have a card, at a minimum, if you do not have a card set aside for me for Valentine's Day, we're getting a divorce.
I wouldn't have blamed her. I would
No,
not have
I
blamed
don't
her.
blame her at all.
That's 3 strikes, my boy. You ain't coming back from that. What's funny about that though is I have a theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've in my life, different stages, I've come up with different theories for reality. So, I've got the waffle theory. I've got just dumb theories that offline I'll tell you with a waffle theory. But I have a purse theory, and the whole reason the purse theory comes in, it actually involves my little sister, and I don't talk about her often. I truly have a disdain in my life for her. That's a whole nother dark story. But before all that happened, she was young. She wasn't married yet. She wasn't pregnant yet. With her first daughter, and who just turned 18. So that's how old that this story is.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long the purse theory has been around, and so. I'd come back from the military, I'd be on leave or whatever, and she didn't have a lot of money. My dad spoiled my sister, but there comes a point where my dad turns that ATM off.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was getting ready to start this new job. I'd just come back from Iraq, and she said, "John, can you help me and I'll pay you back?" Which I know is a big brother is bullshit. I'm never going to see that money again.
Right.
But I said, "Yeah, hon, what you got?" She's like, "I just need to get some clothes and some non-slip shoes and something else, and I'm good." Being big brother, knowing that my two other brothers weren't as financially stable as I was at the time, I said, "I got you. Let's go to the mall," right? So Colorado has two malls. They have the Citadel and the Chapel Hills Mall. One of those malls is not where you shop. It's just not a good place to be. It's a whole mall.
It's a high crime area.
Yeah. The other mall is like you got money. Otherwise, you just go to Walmart or Kmart back then.
Right.
So we hit this mall up, and we're walking through the mall, and I take her right to the store she needs to be at.